All right, everybody, what's up? This is episode 5 of the Chaingang Podcast. Unfortunately, Ryan is not here today for some unknown reason. But Stat Boy is going to fill in for him, and of course, we got our boy Justin back this week. There's a lot that went down in week 4. There's a lot we got to talk about here. So the first thing I want to go over is, is it time for the Titans to be worried? I mean, they lost to the Jets last week. They're 2-2. They're not looking as good as everybody thought they were. So we're going to talk about that first. And then, of course, we got Urban Meyer skipped the team flight on Thursday night and got in a little trouble with the Jags. So we're going to be talking about what the Jags should do with him. Next up, are the Panthers actually serious contenders after acquiring Stephon Gilmore? Hell of a trade by the Panthers. So we're going to be going over that. We got a new segment this week. It's called Bad Calls of the Week. Different from controversial calls. This is coaching decisions that were made last week that, we thought were, stupid, and we are going to, give our opinions on that. And then Justin Fields was announced that he has earned the starting role from now on, even when Andy Dalton is coming back. So we're going to talk about if he earned it, if that was the right decision. And then Josh Gordon, he was reinstated for the 1,000th time back in the NFL, and he's supposed to debut for the Chiefs on Sunday night. So we're going to talk about that. And then, of course, we got our controversial calls, and then we're going to finish off with our game picks this week. But Stat Boy, remind me what we're talking about first this week.
Do the Titans need to worry with their whole situation?
I think it is time to worry in Tennessee. They're 2-2. They've only really beaten. I mean, they did have an impressive win against the Seahawks. I will give them that for sure. But their other one was the Colts. But they lost to the Jets. I feel like it's always time to worry when you lose to the Jets. I know they had A.J. Brown and Julio out, but honestly, I don't think that's any excuse. So I think it is time for the Titans to worry, and they got to make some changes if they want to be a serious contender.
Right. I don't know if it's time to totally panic yet. 2-2 isn't the worst. They haven't been playing as good as I thought they would be playing, but I still think there's time to turn around. I mean, you've seen plenty of good teams have slow starts at the beginning of the season, lose games they shouldn't have lost. I mean, you saw it with the Patriots winning the Super Bowl a few years ago, losing to the Dolphins when they absolutely shouldn't have. I mean, it happens. It's the NFL. I definitely have a little concern about them. Maybe they're not what we thought they were, but I don't think it's total panic mode yet for them.
I mean, I don't know. Their defense looks. It seems like Derrick Henry is the only thing right going on this team. Yards a game, so that's good old Derrick Henry for you. But their receivers have been dealing with some injuries, and that makes it tough for Tannehill. And to make it even more tough, this offensive line has been pretty garbage. He's been sacked 17 times already this season. He has no time in the pocket. He's not really that mobile. I mean, he's mobile, but that's not his go-to. And they're losing the turnover battle with other teams. So I think it's time to worry because nothing seems to be going right except Derrick Henry. So they got to fix something. I don't know. Especially against the Cardinals, Chandler Jones just had an absolute field day against them. And Taylor Lewan is not a bad offensive lineman. So I'd be really scared if I were the Titans. I really would be. Stat Boy, you got any thoughts on that?
I absolutely agree. I think while it may be early in the season, and I was going to say, I think the Jets were due for a win pretty soon. They haven't been the Jets that we've known of as of years past. But then again, the Jets, that is a tough team to lose to. But I don't think they should absolutely go into panic mode and start, thinking about the draft. I think it's only the 5th game of the season coming up. I think they're okay. They'll bounce back. They'll get Julio back. They'll get everybody back. It'll be.
I was going to say, they need their receivers to get healthy, but man, when Zach Wilson has a field day like that against you, it's some cause for concern, He was looking good out there. he might still be a bust, Justin. But I will say one thing though is that they didn't put any pressure on him whatsoever. Like, I feel like that's like your go-to move as a defensive coordinator, playing a rookie quarterback. You feel like you got to pressure him. That's like the easy way out.
Especially with the Titans. I mean, they don't have a great secondary. Their MO has been to pass rush, and them not doing that has definitely hurt them this season.
Yeah, and I think a huge part of it, honestly, is Bud Dupree's not really playing as much as he's coming off a torn ACL injury. So I think, honestly, he doesn't seem like that much of an impact player, but I think he is in this situation. And once he comes back, I think that defense is going to get a little better, and the pressure is going to be better, and their secondary is not going to look as bad as it seems like quarterbacks have a lot of time to throw in the pocket. So we'll see how the Titans do. They play the Jags this week, so if they don't beat them, then I think that's definitely some red flags there, and definitely a cause for concern. Something's got to change in Tennessee if that happens. I mean, of course, he's the only consistent guy, as he's averaging like 130 rushing. But yes, that boy, what we talking about next?
Oh, this is a good one. I'm ready for this. I like this. Urban Meyer. What's up with him?
He was hanging out with the Biddies in Cincinnati instead of flying home with his team. The videos were pretty funny. I'm not even going to lie. He was like sitting on the bar stool, but also grinding with the chick. It was very weird. I did not really, understand that situation. But yeah, Urban Meyer, broke some things in his contract possibly by missing the team flight to go get drunk and hit up some 20-year-olds or whatever. But this seems like a weird move. I don't know if this is just him enjoying the spotlight, or I mean, it's not like he wasn't in the spotlight before, but this is like the NFL. I feel like that's a whole nother thing, Yeah, man's away from the family, times get tough. Maybe Urban Meyer was feeling a little lonely. I don't know. But I mean, Justin, what do you think the Jags should do in this situation if they should do anything? I mean, is this just a coach trying to have a good time, or is this more of a, kind of team atmosphere problem?
Look, first off, I don't know what the hell Urban Myers was doing. The number one rule of doing stuff like that is not to get caught. Not only did you get caught by your job, but you got caught by your wife and the entire world.
Yes.
Like, I know frat boys who can hide that better. And somehow Urban Myers was unable to stay off a Snapchat story titled Ass and Titties. How? But with that being said, I think this looks awful for Urban Myers, and this could be the reason the Jags fire him. I mean, you never want a midseason coach change, but it may be time. I mean, the Jags have been terrible, and you've been seeing in a lot of news reports, the Jags players just have no respect for him at this point. Like, when he got out and made an apology to him, they flat out laughed at him. And on a losing team where you're trying to build a culture, you need that respect, and you need dedication from both sides. And if you don't have that, then things aren't going to click. So I
mean, do you think they laughed at him because of just the general situation of like what he was apologizing for? I mean, for like, like if you're playing and your high school coach does that and he has to apologize to the team, like, isn't it a little funny?
Look, I'm sure that was part of it. It's funny to us, but if I was on that team, I would be furious. Like, my coach doesn't care that we just lost. He went out and got shit-faced with some college girls.
Yeah.
Like, he's an experienced coach. He should know better. He should have that kind of respect for his players, and he didn't. This is a huge issue for them. It is a huge issue for the Jags organization, for Urban Myers and his coaching job, and I think this could be like the breaking point for them. If this continues another week, 2 weeks out, without a win, I think you could definitely see them looking for a new coach.
I don't know. That seems pretty stiff, especially because this is Urban Meyer's first coaching job. I think this obviously is definitely not a good sign towards his relationship with the organization. But I think they keep him at least for the rest of this year. Just kind of play him out. I don't think they would have given him enough time if they were to fire him. I feel like it should be on the basis of that situation and not because he's 0-4. Because in the end, it is the Jags, so it's going to be tough to grind out a couple wins there. But I agree. This makes Urban Meyer look like he has no commitment to the team, especially because he missed the team flight for this. Like, he didn't even do this in Jacksonville. This was still in Cincinnati. And he skipped the team flight to go out and do this. And shout out to the guy who was babysitting Urban Meyer. He actually tweeted a picture of him and like 4 girls, and he's like, didn't think I would see Urban Meyer and then have to babysit him at the bar tonight. But man's messed up. He apologized, but like you said, Justin, I don't think the team took it seriously. I remember I saw a video in practice when they were doing like their huddle or whatever, and the call out that they did instead of like team or something like that, they just said grind, which I thought was so funny because it's like it's on 2 levels. Like, they can mean that they're trying to grind to a win, or they're just mocking their coach. But I think they're definitely mocking their coach. Yeah, so Urban Meyer really messed up. It was funny for all of us, though. It's kind of nice to have some funny news come out of Jacksonville, because there really isn't like too many personalities that come out of there besides Jalen Ramsey over the past couple of years. But good to know that even though Urban Meyer is not doing well on the field, he's doing well off the field. So I don't know. I think the Jags will stick with him for now, but he's definitely on the outskirts with the organization. He's got to get some wins or show his commitment if he's going to stay. So, Stat Boy, what are we talking about next?
Oh, this is going to be good. Are the Panthers legit contenders? I don't know. We'll see this Sunday when a certain team will come and play them.
I don't know if them beating the Eagles is going to make them serious contenders or not. But as we all know, Justin especially, the Panthers traded for Stephon Gilmore, which was out of the blue, honestly, because they just recently acquired C.J. Henderson. Not, of course, C.J. Henderson's not on the same level as Gilmore, but, they just, got a new corner, and they're not necessarily a strong playoff team, as Stephon Gilmore definitely – the Panthers were not his first choice. But it was a good pickup by the Panthers, and obviously getting a lockdown corner like that completely changes your defense, especially with the pass rush they already have. I think their defense could look really good, and the way that Sam Darnold actually looks like a starting quarterback this year and DJ Moore's breakout, this Panthers team is starting to not become a joke anymore and starting to look like a serious contender. I mean, I think they're looking like serious contenders. Justin, what do you think?
Contenders for a Super Bowl, I'd say not this year. Maybe within the next couple of years, I could see them competing for a Super Bowl. I definitely think they're a playoff team. And with this new addition, I mean, it depends. Obviously, Gilmore's been injured for a while, so we have to see how he comes out and plays. I mean, he's an older cornerback, and they've definitely been lacking in the secondary. You have to see how C.J. Henderson turns out because, I mean, he still could be a bust. He missed half of his rookie season, hasn't played a lot, but, he's got a lot of potential. And, I mean, Sam Darnold's been looking amazing. He's leading the league in rushing touchdowns. I mean, he's been their best red zone threat. And, I'm really excited to see where they go. I don't think they're competing for a Super Bowl, but I definitely think they're going to be one of the top teams this year.
I agree, and even though they lost to the Cowboys last week, I think they still showed that they can kind of hang with the top teams in the league. Although they did give up an embarrassing 245 rushing yards last week, which for any defense is a shit ton, even if it is the Cowboys. But like you said, Justin, I think C.J. Henderson is going to be solid. I don't expect him to be, like a strong corner in any way. As he already gave up a touchdown to Amari Cooper, a pretty crucial one this week. But Sam Darnold was under pressure a lot against the Cowboys because they knew that they didn't really have a run game to rely on with McCaffrey out. So, again, I still don't – even with Gilmore, I still don't see this team as a playoff team if they don't get McCaffrey back. I think that's, number one for them. DJ Moore is looking good, but he does not have the same offensive impact that McCaffrey does, and he's not going to be able to, carry that offense down the field every drive like McCaffrey can. So I feel like they got to get him back if they're going to be any sort of competitive for the playoffs this year. Because when you think about it, the Bucks are probably going to take their division. So they're going to be competing for the wild card with teams like, the Rams, the 49ers, the Seahawks, possibly the Cardinals, basically whoever wins that division. I don't expect any NFC East teams to be in wild card contention because the Cowboys will probably take that division. But, they got to go up against teams like that. And I don't know if Sam Darnold has the experience or honestly the knowledge. So I don't know. I think they'd be a solid playoff team, but they're going to really have to fight to get into a wild card spot here.
Yeah, I think Matt Rule's a really good coach. I think he had a great transition from college to the pros, and the way he's been running the team, I think, has been amazing. I mean, you've seen clear growth over the last couple of years while he's been there. And if their secondary does settle in, I mean, Gilmore's predicted comeback, week 6, week 7. If he can play at a high level, CJ Henderson, I mean, he didn't have a great game last week, but if he can settle into it and learn that defense, I mean, he had less than a week to prep. So if they can get that secondary down and Matt Rule can keep doing his thing and Christian McCaffrey comes back, I think they're going to be a solid team by the end of the year.
Yeah, and that's a good point about CJ Henderson. Because, also, it's hard to, go to a new team and then have to cover the wide receiver one, especially when you've been kind of dealing with injuries. So I don't think this is any cause of concern for Panthers fans that CJ Henderson didn't play well. I think, like you said, he's just got to, go into his role. But the defense is looking great this year. They're only giving up 16 points a game. They're the 3rd overall best defense right now. My only thing is they got to start beating some some real contenders because they've beaten the Jets, the Texans, and the Saints this year. So no really strong teams. So if they're going to be considered contenders, they got to beat some playoff teams in the next weeks coming. And I'm sorry, Stat Boy, but them beating the Eagles, I would not consider a strong contender. All right, well, Stat Boy, we got a new segment up this week. So what is it?
We're going to see some bad calls, guys. You watched the game I watched on Sunday, you saw a whole lot of them.
Yeah, I won't have any of the videos up because I did not have time, but I think we know most of the plays that I'm talking about, actually except the one, but I can just describe it. So the first one I got up, Justin, I'm actually really interested to see what you thought on this because maybe you think differently. The Sunday night game, Bucks Patriots. Pats were driving down the field, about a minute left, and it was about, I think it was 4th and 3, 4th and 4. It was really coming down in New England. Temperature wasn't great, pretty windy, really rainy. They decided to attempt a 56-yard field goal with Nick Folk to, get in the lead, to be up by 1. Even if he makes the field goal, you're giving Brady a minute left with, I believe he had 1 timeout. So I think this was a bad call on Belichick's part. I honestly would have just went for it here because it was a manageable 4th down. And Mac Jones was looking pretty solid, actually, against that Bucs defense. So, I mean, Justin, do you think that was a bad call, or what do you think he should have done?
If he made it, I would have said no, it wasn't a bad call, but he didn't make it, obviously. So I'm going to have to go yes. Mac Jones was having a great game. He was playing great. I loved what I saw. He had 19 straight completions at one point. And Nick Folk, I mean, he's been a very accurate kicker throughout his career, but he hasn't attempted more than, I think it was a 45-yard field goal in close to a year. And so putting him up in that kind of position in that kind of weather, I don't think it was the best. It was a close game. I think just going for it was their best move. And clearly we'll never know.
Yeah, I agree, especially with the way the Pats were. Like you said, they completed 19 passes in a row. They were killing it in the short game. So if I'm the Pats, I'm just doing a 5-and-out with Jacoby Myers or, maybe a Hunter Henry play, really whatever. Because Mac Jones is looking good. And also, I don't want to give Brady that much time left in the game because at that point, it's not even worth kicking a field goal because Brady's just going to drive down the field. So I agree. I think, it was a tough call for Belichick to make. In perfect conditions, with a seasoned kicker, I would agree. Take the field goal, take the lead, especially with how well your defense is playing. And maybe that's kind of what Belichick was thinking going in. If he were to make the field goal, is that, I mean, the Pats defense did look really good against Brady. I'll give him that for sure. But tough call, by Belichick. But the next one we got up is so in the first quarter of the Saints Washington football game, the Saints had the ball on about the 29, and they decided to go for it on 4th and 5, and or was it? No, it was 4th and. Oh no, was it no 4th and 3?
Actually.
Okay. The Saints decided to go for it on 4th and 3, and they did an HB toss to Alvin Kamara, but Stat Boy, we got an interesting topic up next that I may or may not have called, or I've been kind of talking about this whole season. But what's up next?
Some real stuff going down in Chicago. Chicago is not. It's pretty good. The quarterbacks, they're having a good time, especially Justin Fields, who is now the starter.
Hey, let's go. Let's get it. Justin Fields finally earned his starting role. I shouldn't say finally because he's only started 2 games, but still, I think this is well deserved. By Justin Fields. I really do. Even though he didn't have a passing touchdown against the Lions, they still won. And I think that's the most important thing. And he looked a lot better. I think Matt Nagy had an easier game plan for him. I think they might have overestimated what he could do. So obviously he's going to have to ease into it like all rookie quarterbacks. But I think this is a good choice. I think someone finally hit Matt Nagy over the head. And I think he finally realized that this was the right call.
Yeah, I think we've talked about Justin Fields every podcast since we've started.
I love Justin.
But I've been saying this since the start. I'm okay with him sitting. I'm okay with them prolonging his career, letting him take some time, easing into the NFL, and I'm okay with him starting. I think he's fine. He's probably going to play better than Andy Dalton. He's had some shaky games so far, but he's a rookie. What can you really expect from him? I think he's going to do fine as a starter. And I think part of this may be Matt Nagy trying to save his own ass before Chicago murders him. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him starting, and I look forward to seeing what he's going to do.
I honestly think Matt Nagy's going to get fired either way, to be honest.
I agree.
I don't know if there's really anything he can do to kind of save, his job. But, like, even just his play calling alone, like, someone else has got to call the plays in Chicago. And I think that's what actually they did last week against the Lions. So they just got to keep doing what they did last week. I know the Lions, obviously, that's nothing to like gloat about or anything like that. I don't expect Justin Fields to have a stellar rookie year. I don't expect him to be in contention for rookie of the year or anything by that means. But I think he'll be solid. I think he'll have some rookie mistakes. He'll go through the process. He'll be okay. But this is a learning year for him, and I think he's just got to get the chemistry down with Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney. He's really got to step up with David Montgomery out for the next couple of weeks. So we're going to see how, him being out kind of affects Fields' play. But I'm glad Fields has got the starting role. I think he might be mentally ready for it. And I think he has a lot of confidence going in. So he plays the Raiders, so it's going to be a tough defensive line. So he's going to be under some pressure this week. So we'll see how he does. But someone else that, I guess Justin Fields wasn't debuting, but someone else is making their debut for a new team this week.
Mm-hmm. It's boy Josh Gordon. He's back in the league for the 10th time probably.
Yep.
Finally back again. What's going to happen? I don't know.
He's playing for the Chiefs now, which honestly, of all teams, I did not expect the Chiefs to pick him up. I didn't think any contending team was going to pick him up, because he's been out of the league so long. But I don't know. I expect 10 snaps, really. I don't expect anything much from Josh Gordon. He's been out of the league for a while. I don't even know if he's good enough to be an actual NFL receiver anymore, honestly. He's been out of the league for so long. He's getting older. He's getting up there. might get a catch or two. I don't expect really anything more from Josh Gordon. I don't know what his role is going to be on this team, especially with Tyreek Hill and Kelsey. So I have no idea.
Look, I'm a big fan of Josh Gordon. I was throughout his NFL career, and I'm not going to make fun of his drug addiction and being kicked out of the league a million times. You know, if you've heard his story, you feel bad for the guy. Like, he has a serious problem with addiction, and I was very happy when he went to the Pats. But, you know, he only played, 4 or 5 games for him, and on the Chiefs.
Not in those games, though.
Yeah, he looked fine. But you're also talking about the Pats, who didn't have a great receiving core at the time. And, you know, he's older. I think, he's 31 now, something like that.
He's up there.
And he's been in and out of the league. His role is going to be very limited. And I wouldn't trust him to run a lot of routes. I mean, he's a speed demon. You're going to see him on a lot of goes, a lot of hook and goes. And that's probably going to be his only role. You know, you're going to see him in garbage time. You're going to see him when they have spread offense. And maybe you'll see him take a couple backup kick return and punt return snaps. But I wouldn't expect a whole lot from him this year.
Do you expect anything from Josh Gordon in his debut?
I heard that when Patrick Mahomes saw Josh, he looked at him and said, "Dang, I didn't know you were that big, man." So I think.
Well, you think he's going to get some looks?
I think he's going to get maybe 1 or 2 snaps, but it's his first game. He does not know the offense. There's no way he does more than probably cap it at 3 catches for less than 30 yards. There's no way he actually does something big.
I don't know. I mean, they play the Bills, so this is going to be a huge game for them and a high-scoring one, in my opinion. But we will see. But Statboy, what do we got right before the game picks?
Ooh, controversial calls.
All right, so the first one we got up. Justin, can you see that?
Yep.
All right, cool. First one we got up is the Joe Hayden offside call on the blocked kick return. I was fuming about this, as this would have gave the Steelers a lot of momentum going into the half. It would have been up 17-10 if this would have gone through. But we're going to see if he was offside or not.
Chiefs territory in here.
So, yeah, as you see, we get a good block there. Really good block. But I don't think he was offside. Like, he doesn't jump out at any sooner than any of the other guys. And he's not across the line of scrimmage. Not even close. Right? I mean, the ball, he's there. Oh. The ball snapped there, okay? He's not even close. He's not there. I don't understand. I don't know how this was called. I was very mad about this because this is what totally shifted the game. We actually could have won the game if this wasn't called. But I mean, Justin, like, you can agree with me, right? Like, this was not offside.
Yeah, he doesn't look offsides.
No.
I will say you can see the edge rushers moving before the ball left the snapper's hand, so maybe that confused the refs, but he doesn't look offsides to me. He doesn't look close. I mean, he looks at least a foot away from the line of scrimmage by the time the ball is snapped. Or by the time he starts moving, sorry. But I'd go no offsides. Yeah.
Just for this call, the refs had the worst week that they've had so far reffing, because this literally changed the entire game. And if we would have won, people would be not making so many Big Ben memes, because that is the only thing I've been seeing for the past 4 weeks is just Big Ben memes. So I'm looking forward to not seeing those when they win this week. But you know what? Probably will still see them. But the next call we got up is Chase Young got called for roughing the passer on this play. And the roughing the passer call has been kind of, moving towards the quarterback direction. as it should be over the past couple of years. But I think this call was especially ridiculous. But let's take a look. So he kind of just pushes him in the chest from what it looks like. Yeah, Matt Ryan's running out, and then he just kind of he just kind of hits him in the chest. He doesn't really do much else here. Right? You know, I mean, it looks like he's kind of at his head, but I don't know. I mean, Justin, what are you thinking here watching this?
I'm gonna have to go no on the roughing the passer. I mean, I think that was Chase Young who hit him, and you can see him like stepping out of the way, avoiding him once he thinks the ball is thrown.
Right.
Like you can see him making effort to move out of the way so he doesn't directly hit him, because Chase Young would have crushed Matt Ryan. Just body size to body size would have absolutely crushed him. You can see him there try to get his hands away. And I mean, look, Matt Ryan there is falling. Like you can see him catch his balance after Chase Young puts his hands on him and then fall.
Right. I mean, he literally just pushed him in the chest. That's all he did.
And the ball hasn't even left his hands yet. It's absolutely not a roughing the passer.
Yeah, I agree. I did not like that call at all. And especially like it looks a lot worse than it is. You know, because it's Matt Ryan, okay? He's old. He's not able to take hits or really any contact, especially from a guy like that. So I agree. I think this was a terrible call. As usual, the refs have another bad week. But yeah, so yeah. All right, Stat Boy. I believe we have one more topic, as we always end off with this. But what are we doing now?
Get into these picks. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? See what we know. What we're going to find out.
Okay. Stat Boy, I was not too happy with our records last week, but could you remind us how well we did and, you know, who's getting the punishments?
Well, it seems we have a tie with Dylan and Ryan are at 8-8. So what does this mean for Justin? Well, it just turns out he had a record of 9-7. He has won, meaning we have not one, but two big losers this week.
You know, and you got it on the Cardinals game because you said that the Cardinals are going to win, and we both said the Rams are going to win. So that's where you pushed ahead there. So, I know we haven't been posting the punishments. You know, that's my bad. Except, you know, Justin's one. I guess he can kind of do that on his own. But, you know, we've all been kind of busy and shit like that. So, you know, it's been kind of tough. But we will try to push out the punishments. Trust me. But yeah, Ryan and I both lost this week, so I guess we have a joint punishment together. Not looking forward to this, as this is my first punishment, but I was hoping that it wouldn't be until a little bit later. So Justin, you I guess you can converse kind of with Stat Boy here on this one, but do you know what you want our punishment to be?
I don't yet. You know, I just found out at the beginning of this podcast, so I'm gonna have to talk it over with Stat Boy and see what we can come up with, and we'll get back to it. We'll keep the people updated on the story.
All right, sounds good. I will be trembling until I hear what I have to do. Hopefully, not anything too bad. As you know, Justin, I have saved you over the past couple weeks from doing some fuck shit. So, you know, hopefully you give me a little grace there, but I don't really see that. So hopefully I can do better this week. Return to my week one greatness. So we'll see. But Stat Boy, what's the first game we got up?
Rams Seahawks Thursday night.
Finally a good Thursday night game.
Good. Right. We got some interesting stats for this game. The 2020 NFC wildcard game was between the Rams and the Seahawks.
So that was the last time they played.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
The Rams won 30-20. And won via the rush game. Cam Akers had 28 carries for over 130 yards, and DK Metcalf for the Seahawks had 5 catches, almost 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the Seahawks did not play well on third down. Only had 2 conversions for the 14 times on third down, And Wilson, he did not do well. He only was 11 for 27 with less than 200 yards. So the Rams defense is something to
Donald was really up in his junk that game.
So next, the injuries for the Rams. Darrell Henderson is questionable, along with Tyler Higbee and Taylor Rapp. For the Seahawks, Jamal Adams, Carlos Dunlap, and DK Metcalf are questionable, and Everett, Mr. Gerald. Yeah. Gerald Everett. Yeah, you can have it together.
Yeah.
Those credits. Gerald Everett, he is out.
Okay, and just so we know, Statboy, since Ryan is not here, Statboy will be making Ryan's picks for him this week. So looking at this game, the Rams defense really bullied Russell Wilson the last time they played. And, the Rams kind of struggled last week. Going into Seattle, this is kind of a tough game to try to rebound from. But I think the Rams are still going to do it here. I think the Seahawks secondary isn't really there, especially if Jamal Adams doesn't play. So I think Matthew Stafford's going to rebound against his defense this week. So I'm going to take the Rams.
Yeah, you just summed it up for me. The Rams defense is fantastic, and I think it's going to be the reason they win this game. Aaron Donald is an absolute monster, and I think he's going to bully the Seahawks O-line. And Jalen Ramsey in the secondary is going to make him nervous to throw the ball. And especially with your wide receiver one being questionable, I just have the Rams taking this. Also, I just threw up a possible punishment in the group chat, so we can check that out.
Okay. Statboy, who are you taking this week?
I think that Ryan would take the Rams. I don't think the Seahawks are the Seahawks of old. They're not the Legion of Boom anymore. They're not what we have seen in the past. I think this might be the year where they're not up to the Seahawks standards. I'll take the Rams with this one easily. Going hop over the ponds to the great state of London. Jets versus Falcons. That's what it's called sometimes.
Okay.
The pond.
Yeah.
So as far as injuries go, the Jets are going to be without Mekhi Becton, Vinny Curry, and Marcus May, and Elijah Moore is questionable. Falcons will be without Russell Cage and Calvin Ridley.
This is going to be my bold prediction of the week. I don't know how bold it is considering both these teams are kind of trash. I'm going to take the Jets here. It feels weird saying that, but they got momentum, they got confidence coming off after beating the Titans. The Falcons have both Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage out. I mean, the last time a team had two receivers out, their top two receivers out against the Jets was the Titans, and they did lose. Kyle Pitts has not really been used in his offense that much. I think Cordell Patterson's going to pop off this game, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I'm taking the Jets here. Zach Wilson's going to get his second dub in London.
Look, it's quite simple for me. Zach Wilson sucks, and that is the only reason I'm going for the Falcons. Zach Wilson's terrible. I mean, their O-line's pretty terrible too, especially with Mekhi Becton out. And I think, if anything, Atlanta's going to be able to abuse pass rush. I mean, not that they're a great pass rush team, but I think they're going to have enough to get it done on the Jets. And Zach Wilson sucks. So I'm going with Atlanta.
I think the same. Atlanta is going to come out here and just beat them up. I don't think there's no way the Jets are going to be able to win back-to-back weeks. Is that possible? Has that ever happened?
I don't know. I don't know the last time. That would have been a
so.
good stat for me to look up. But
last time the Jets have won back-to-back games. No, there's no way.
I don't know. I think you guys are going to be surprised. Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson has the most passing yards in one game of any other rookie quarterbacks. I'm pretty sure.
He's still terrible.
He's going to prove you wrong in London, but we will see.
Ooh. All right, next up, Eagles-Packers. Eagles-Panthers. Not yet. Next up, Eagles-Panthers. Injuries for the Eagles. Brandon Brooks, he is not going to be playing. Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata are questionable. Most likely, Lane Johnson will not play due to his personal reasons. The Panthers will be without Stephon Gilmore since he's just coming back. And J.C. Horn, Christian McCaffrey is still questionable.
I think, honestly, the injuries here for the Eagles, 3 starting offensive linemen being out or questionable, I think is huge, especially with the Panthers D-line this year. They've been looking great. The Eagles don't really have any amazing receivers, but, I mean, Jalen Hurts has been kind of popping off this year, but he's going to face a tough Panthers defense at home. So I'm going to take the Panthers here. I think DJ Moore is going to pop off this game as he has been this entire season. I think Tommy Tremble gets a little more involved without McCaffrey there. So I'm taking the Panthers here. I don't think the Eagles are going to be able to run the ball, and I think that's really going to hurt them.
Look, I mean, I could get into everything, but even with a fully healthy team, I don't think the Eagles match up to the Panthers. The Panthers are simply the better team. Their defense is better. They're clicking on offense. I'm taking the Panthers.
Yeah, I don't think Ryan would take the Eagles any day of the week.
I think he would.
But Stat Boy, you're making the picks for Ryan. So it's not what if Ryan would say, but it's
these
what
are going to be my picks.
Right, but for punishment reasons,
They will transfer to Ryan.
Right.
I'll lend me you $10 if you pick all the.
All right, let's go with my birds. We can do it.
Okay. I like
not that far from Philly.
I like the confidence in your team. I'll say that much.
Next game, Packers and Bengals. Injuries to the Packers are as follows. Jerry Alexander is questionable along with Aaron Jones. The guys that will not be playing are David Bakhtiari, Michael Valdez-Scantling, and Zadarius Smith. For the Bengals, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, and Trey Waynes are all questionable.
I don't think this is even a question, honestly. Even with some of the Packers' injuries, even if Aaron Jones is out of this game, A.J. Dillon is a solid replacement. Aaron Rodgers is looking good. I mean, Joe Burrow's looking really good too, but I don't think that's going to be enough for them to beat the Packers. So for that reason, I'm taking the Packers.
Yeah, I'm going with the Packers too. Not much to talk about here. I think they're just the better team.
Yeah, there's no way the Packers fumble this back. No way.
And especially because there's not really anyone on the team that can cover Devontae Adams. So that's really going to create an issue for them there.
Next up, Patriots versus Texans. So Bill Belichick, he's pretty good against the Texans. He's 22-6 against rookie quarterbacks, actually. And guess who has a rookie quarterback? Texans. So for the Patriots, Trent Brown, Kyle Duggar, Shaq Mason, Kyle Van Noy are all questionable, and Isaiah Wynn is out. Texans will be without Marcus Cannon, potentially, and Rex Burkhead, and Tyrod Taylor will not be playing.
Mac Jones looked pretty good, honestly, against a solid Bucs defense. And like Stat Boy said, Bill Belichick dominates rookie quarterbacks, and Davis Mills is okay. He actually played pretty garbo last week, so I don't know if he's okay anymore. But easy call. I think Mac Jones is going to have a good game against the Texans. I'm taking the Pats here.
Yeah, even as a Patriots fan, watching what Mac Jones did last week, it was kind of his turning point from being a rookie to being able to kind of continuously start in an NFL offense. And I'm really hoping that's the case. I mean, he's still a rookie. You're going to see some more fumbles over the week or over the year. And I mean, that's just going to happen, but especially coming off such a big game, such a crucial game, and then moving into, the Texans, I think the Patriots are going to take this pretty easy.
Yeah, this is pretty clear. The Texans are not a good team. Patriots played well last week. It's Patriots. Next game, Titans versus Jaguars. Derrick Henry had 215 rushing yards last time these two guys played. And Tannehill, he played well with only 5 incomplete passes. Total yards of offense were 454 yards. For the Titans, some key questionable men are Denico Aturi, Jaylen Brown, Julio, Taylor Lucen, and Ben Jones. Jaguars could be without Tyson Campbell, and DJ Clark will not be playing.
This is a big game, honestly, for the Titans, and I would say that with them playing the Jags. But if they lose here, like I said earlier in the video, it's cause for concern for sure. But like Sapboy said, Derrick Henry is, basically the Jaguars are Derrick Henry's bitch, basically. And Derrick Henry's going to run all over him all day. Even without Julio, I think A.J. Brown is going to be healthy as he's not on our injury report. So I think the Titans have enough weapons to beat the Jags. And I don't know. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a good game, but not good enough to take down the Titans.
Yep, agreed. I think I have a little bit more faith in the Titans than Dylan does right now, but I definitely don't have faith in the Jags right now. Between the Urban Meyer stuff and just their on-field play, they're a dumpster fire right now, and I think the Titans are going to take this.
Yeah, this will be a good game that'll get the Titans' spirits up. They might turn it all around pretty soon. This game of the Titans. Next up is the Lions versus the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, last time he played the Lions, he had 405 passing yards, and they won 37-35. Vikings defense, however, give up 5 touchdowns, and
the Lions wide receiver
the Lions had 180 yards to their wide receiver 1 last game. So the pass attack for them was very good. Injuries to the Lions, Michael Brockers is questionable, and Taylor Decker is out. Trey Flowers, T.J. Hawkinson are questionable. What's D mean? Doubtful, okay. Penei Sewell is doubtful. DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams are both questionable, and Tyrell Williams is out. The Vikings could be without Dalvin Cook and Michael Pierce.
I think this is an easy one, especially the Lions didn't even need this long of an injury list for me to make this decision. But Kirk Cousins dominated the Lions last time they played, and the Vikings defense did bad because it was Matthew Stafford. Now they're dealing with Jared Goff with even less weapons than they had before. So this is an easy one for me. The Vikings are taking this at home, even without Dalvin Cook. They're taking it.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Dylan. I think I've taken the Lions every week so far this year, and I'm tired of being wrong. Every week I have some faith that they're going to get upset, and they never do. I have some faith in the Vikings. I like Kirk Cousins has been playing great this year. Even with Dalvin Cook out, I think they have some good weapons, and I'm going to have to take the Vikings.
Yeah, the Lions are just not that. Vikings all that. All right.
Oh, hold on. I want to add a key stat here.
Be there. All right, next game, Broncos at Pittsburgh. Some key stats. Steelers got 7 sacks last time they played the Broncos, with a total of 19 QB hits. That was also the game Drew Lock got injured. So they really sent him home back.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon only had 3.7 yards per carry. And then we'll have some guys at this game to cheer these guys on. We'll have Ryan and Dylan sitting courtside.
Yeah,
be right there with them.
Already know.
Some key injuries include Teddy Bridgewater is questionable, and Melvin Gordon also questionable, along with Patrick Surtain. Two inactives are Bradley Chubb and Jerry Jeudy. For the Steelers, Tyson Alualu is out. Chase Claypool, Cameron Sutton, and James Washington were all questionable.
Obviously, y'all already know my pick, but I got to explain. I'm taking the Steelers, obviously. Ryan and I are going to be, cheering on Big Ben. He's still got our support, even though he's been playing like dog water. This is going to be a tough game. This is going to be a defensive game for sure. Two pretty good defenses going at it. I'm glad that TJ Watt's healthy this week, so that's going to be huge for us. But we're going to have to worry about Von Miller. But I have confidence in Najee Harris that he's going to be able to make some plays, and that Juju will do something. Hopefully, I don't know. Big Ben's able to get the ball out to him. But if Drew Lock plays here, I don't think he can play well enough to score really anything on the Steelers defense. So I'm taking the Steelers.
Enough. I think that's a bad pick. I'm going to assume that Teddy Bridgewater plays, and I'm going to take the Broncos. I think with the lackluster quarterback play from the Steelers and the Broncos secondary looking better and better each game, I'm gonna put my money on their defense and take the Broncos.
It's tough. The whole Big Ben situation going up against a good Denver defense, but Denver is not exactly a strong 3-1 team. They haven't faced any real contenders. So now I'm going to go for the Steelers. They're in Pittsburgh. I'd say they've got a good chance. They got the home field advantage.
Yeah. And Ryan will be at the game, so it's even more of a home field advantage. Right.
All right, next up we have the Dolphins versus the Bucks. The Dolphins gave up 140 rushing yards a game against the Buccaneers. And
that's just the
okay. So in general, Dolphins are giving up 140 rushing yards a game. They're also giving up 250 passing yards. The Tampa defense, however, is giving up a lot of points, 26 points a game. And Dolphins have Brady's number. They've intercepted him more than any other team, total 27 times. So key injuries for Miami are Will Fuller, he's out. Xavier Howard, Brian Jones, Devontae Parker are all questionable, and Tua will not be playing. He's out. For the Bucks, James Dean is out. Gronk is he's probably not going to play. Jason Pierre-Paul is out, along with Anthony Quinfield Jr.
It's Antoine Winfield Jr.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm taking the Bucks here. I think Jacoby Brissett, even with the Bucks' defensive struggles, I don't think he's going to be able to really do anything with this offense. As Will Fuller is out and Devontae Parker might not play either, so he's really down to Jalen Waddle and Gesicki for his weapons. As they have not been using Myles Gaskin, which is really pissing me off because he's on my fantasy team. And I kind of acquired him in a trade that he would bank on getting more touches in the passing game, but he's not. So they got any shot. I think they got to get Myles Gaskin more involved. But Brady had some tough times against the Pats defense last week, but I think he's going to rebound this week against the Dolphins. So give me the Bucks here.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to explain here. I mean, it's a mediocre team already, and now you're starting quarterbacks out. And you're going up against the ranked Super Bowl champions. I'm going with the Bucks.
Yeah, they're in Tampa. Bucks have been playing well. Dolphins are not on that level, not even close. Give me the Buccaneers. All right, Saints versus Washington. Some key statistics. Have been giving up an average of.
That's the football team that's been giving up that much.
So Washington has been giving up an average of 34 points a game. That's an average. And Winston has not been good. He has not thrown for over 230 yards this year. And the defense of Washington has been giving up a total of almost 300 passing yards a game average. So who knows? This might be the week for Jameis. Some injuries for the Saints are Terran Armstead and Michael Thomas. And for Washington, Jonathan Allen, Antonio Gibson, Curtis Samuel, Brandon Scherf, and Logan Thomas.
So like Statboy said before, Jameis hasn't thrown for over 230 yards this year. And I think that's a huge concern, especially for a quarterback. I know he doesn't exactly have the receivers. Maybe when Michael Thomas comes back, he can kind of rebound. But this Washington football defense has struggled a lot, actually. And that was kind of the backbone of that team. So I'm really concerned for the football team here. Their defense just isn't looking good. Taylor Heineke obviously is not up to par with how he played against the Bucs in the playoffs. So I think Alvin Kamara is really going to go off this game. And, I think they're really going to use him a lot. So I'm taking the Saints here.
Agreed. Both of these teams have been playing pretty irregular throughout the season, but I'm kind of banking on Jameis having a good game, really moving the ball around. And so I'm going to go with the Saints.
I agree. This might be the game that the Saints finally get their win against a decent team. I think they'll get this win in Washington.
They did beat the Packers, though. I would say they're a decent team.
Aaron Rodgers didn't even play the whole game. He was not what he said he was. He was not the Aaron Rodgers. He was not. That was an off game.
Still beat him. I mean, they beat him by 35. I mean, at that point,
they had to put in a rookie quarterback. All right. We have Chicago versus Las Vegas. Raiders have been giving up 132 rushing yards a game. They're also averaging 430 yards of offense a game. And the Bears defense is giving up a total of 380 yards a game, but only giving up 238 passing yards. So for Chicago, Akeem Hicks, Khalil Mack, Darnell Mooney, and David Montgomery might not play. And for the Raiders, Josh Jacobs and Trayon Mullen do not play as well.
As much as I want to have faith in Justin Fields this week, I really can't. The Raiders' defensive line has looked really good, and especially how they struggled against especially how the Bears' offensive line has struggled against the Browns. I think Justin Fields is going to be under a lot of pressure this week. He's not going to have David Montgomery to kind of rely on in the run game, so I think he's going to have a tough time here. But I don't think Derek Carr is going to have the games he's been having, but I think it's going to be enough to win. So give me the Raiders here.
Yeah, I just think Derek Carr is more experienced. He's going to be able to put something together better than Justin Fields can. And they've been really clicking this season so far. So I'm going to have to go with the Raiders.
Vegas is a scary place. I think the Bears are going to fold. No way. Give me the Raiders. All right. Next, Browns versus Chargers. Ooh. Baker has not thrown for over 250 yards since the first week. And Justin Herbert, complete opposite. He's thrown for 325 plus passing yards or thrown for 3 touchdowns in every single game. And the Browns, they're only giving up 188 passing yards per game. So could see something go down in this game. Some key inactives for the Browns. Clowney, Jack Conklin, Myles Garrett, Jarvis Landry, David Njoku, Denzel Ward, and Jarek Willis. And for the Chargers, Chris Harris, Dervin James, and Kendrick Murray.
That's a lot of guys on the injury report for the Browns. Baker has not looked as good this year as he usually is. Like Statboy said, he hasn't thrown for 250 yards since week 1, and he only has 2 passing touchdowns this year, which I think is kind of disappointing for him. So the way that Justin Herbert has been playing recently, and just the Chargers in general, I'm taking the Chargers here. I think Herbert is going to really, plug some holes in this Browns defense. And I think Mike Williams is going to rebound this game, as he was kind of quiet against the Raiders. So, give me the Chargers here.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great game, but I just have a little bit more faith in the Browns right now. I think their defense is going to play well, and I think their rush game is unlike most other teams in the NFL, and that's just something that's hard to game plan for. And for those reasons, I'm going to take the Browns.
I do love the Browns, but I cannot bet against the Chargers. They've been playing too well the last few games. Give me the Chargers. All right, good one coming up. The 49ers versus the Cardinals. Last time they played, 49ers won 20-12. But Jimmy Garoppolo was out. He did not play. And the Niners had 227 rushing yards. Kyler Murray was not in the game at all. He had no touchdowns. He was not playing well. And D-Hop, he only had 8 catches for less than 50 yards. So key injuries coming up. Jimmy Garoppolo is questionable, along with George Kittle, Earl Mitchell, and Trent Williams. For the Cardinals, Chase Edmonds and Max Williams.
Like Statboy said, the last time they played, even though Kyler Murray did not really do well, he didn't put up any touchdowns or anything like that. This is a different Kyler Murray this year. He's on an MVP trek. And this 49ers secondary has really struggled. And I think they're going to continue to struggle, especially against this dominant Cardinal wide receiver core. So I think D-Hop is going to have a really good game. I think he's going to have over 50 yards. So I think the Cardinals are going to continue, and I think they're going to go to 5-0.
Yeah, I love the way the Cardinals are looking this year. They've really put it together, especially on offense. And I just don't think the 49ers are going to be able to match it. They don't have a great secondary. And they've been struggling with a couple of injuries and some chemistry issues. I think this year, they've been switching in 2 different quarterbacks. And I just have more faith in the Cardinals right now.
George Kittle has been an absolute menace to my fantasy league. His no touchdowns at all this entire year. I mean, there's no way I can bet on the 49ers. They've let me down every single week. Give me the Cardinals.
I forgot that Trey Lance is probably going to.
All right, an NFC matchup for the week: Giants versus Cowboys. Last time they played with Dak in the huddle, Cowboys won 37-34. Darius Slayton had 129 yards. CeeDee Lamb had 124 yards. And Zeke had 2 touchdowns. But Saquon, he was not in that game. He did not play. So that could change the tide now that he's back. For the Giants, some injuries. Blake Martinez, Jabril Peppers, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Andrew Thomas, and Leonard Williams. For the Cowboys, Amari Cooper, Zeke, Randy Gregory, and DeMarcus Lawrence.
I think I kind of have to back up what I said earlier about the Giants. I mean, I think they're looking, kind of strong after, this game against the Saints. Danny Dimes is looking really good. He's not really turning the ball over. Barkley's starting to look, to his midseason form. I think they're going to struggle against the Cowboys a little bit, but as long as they, really develop that deep ball game with Tooney and John Ross, I think the Giants had a shot here. So I'm taking the Giants in this one.
I explained everything I feel earlier. I think the Cowboys are going to destroy the Giants. Don't have a lot of faith in Danny Jones. I like their receiving core. I like Saquon, but I don't think they have it.
I hate both these teams. I want to see the Cowboys go down. Give the Giants.
Wow. I didn't think I would get anybody to pick the Giants with me.
I'll be honest. These Cowboys win. No way. This will be a good one. Bills, Chiefs. Last time they played. Who lost? Chiefs won. Okay. Last time they played, the Bills lost in the conference game 38-24. Mahomes had 325 yards and 3 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill had 9 catches for 172 yards. Josh Allen, he had 88 rushing yards, but he only had 234 passing yards. And Kelsey was also a powerhouse with 13 catches for over 100 yards. For the Bills, Matt Milano, Jordan Poyer, and Tre'Davious White will not be playing. The Chiefs, they're only going to be potentially missing Chris Jones.
This is a big game for both of these teams for sure. The Bills have been putting up numbers against every defense they've been playing, and the Chiefs' defense has not been playing well this year. So I think I'm going to take the Bills here. I think Josh Allen's going to play really well. As long as Tre'Davious White plays, I think teams have been more worrying about Tyreek Hill and locking him down and forcing the Chiefs to beat them with the other weapons that they have. Tremaine Edmonds isn't the greatest in coverage. But Kelsey's going to have another big game against the Bills for them to win. But give me the Bills here. I think Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are really going to go off.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game. But the Chiefs have had a little bit of a shakier start than I think anyone expected this year. And I just don't think that's going to hold up throughout the season. I think the Bills are a great team, and they've been playing great lately, but it hasn't been against powerhouse teams. And I think they're going to see that with the Chiefs this week, and I got the Chiefs taking it.
I think the Chiefs really showed last game that their defense is not bad. The Eagles can get pretty close to beating them with so many of those called back touchdowns. I don't think that the Chiefs are what we thought they were. I think the Bills, they're going to put up a good fight. But the Chiefs, they're at home. I think they'll get back on track. I think the Chiefs will win.
All right, and then we got the Monday night game.
Ooh. All right, last one, Colts versus Ravens. For the Colts, Naheem Hines, Darius Leonard, and Quentin Nelson might not play. For the Ravens, Ronnie Statley and Mr. Villanueva.
I think this is an easy pick. I mean, Lamar Jackson's looking great this year. The Colts continue to struggle offensively. And, the Ravens defense hasn't been great, but, it's good enough to stop the Colts. And, the Colts really rely on the run game. Ravens are one of the best run defenses. I think they're going to have a really tough time on the ground. So give me Lamar Jackson and the Ravens here.
Yeah, I think Dylan summed it all up for me there. Not a lot of faith in the Colts. I've been saying it all year. I got the Ravens taking this one pretty easily.
The Eagles' first round pick coming from the Colts. So that best case scenario, Carson Wentz plays all the snaps, plays like shit, and the Colts lose. That'll get us the best possible draft. Give me the Ravens.
Okay, well, that sums up our game picks and all of our topics today. Justin, I would like to thank you for joining us. I know we kind of skipped you for time a little bit, but hopefully we're getting you off early enough. Stat Boy, thank you for replacing Ryan this week. You were a pretty good replacement for him, and yeah, you made some good picks for him. Hopefully, you reap none of the punishment that he will get, but maybe he'll decide that you deserve some of that with some of the picks you made. But we will see. But thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the new segment of Bad Calls this week, and just I guess all the other topics we talked about today. Hopefully, Urban Meyer can get on track. And I'd like to thank everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Sick.
All right. Okay. There we go. Stop. So, Justin, you got a hot date